Are you curious as to what's been going on in the Eagle River real estate market this year so far? Let's take a peek. So right now, if we look at single family residences, we're looking at the number of active on the market, pretty robust. We've definitely seen more properties penned and go under contract than we have currently on the market, making that still a seller's market. If we look at condo and townhouses, they're almost equal. And so there definitely have been more condos pended and pending with under contract and sold than currently on the market. Looks like there's not a lot of activity in our multifamilies in Eagle River, and vacant land. There's definitely more vacant land for sale than has actually been sold this year. Now, how do we compare 2022 to 2023? For sold units, I get this question all the time. The market's tanking. Nobody's selling their houses. Well, let's take a peek at that. In September, by the end of September 2022, we had seen 461 single-family residences sell in Eagle River. Guess what? In 2023, we saw 319. So that's about 100 a little bit over 100 homes that we should have seen sold. So we're not seeing a drastic shift in the market here. For condos, we're at half. We saw 80 properties sold by this time last year in September, end of September, and only 41 this year. It's kind of the same thing for multifamilies. Interestingly enough, vacant land has seemed to hold steady. We only had 27 pieces of vacant land sold in Eagle River in 2022 by the end of September, and we've seen 25. So we're pretty holding steady on vacant land. Now let's look at average sales prices. Average sales prices here, they've kind of gone up a bit in regards to single family residences. They've held somewhat steady for condos and actually come down just a tad for condos out in the Eagle River area. Multifamilies have gone down in the Eagle River area, and vacant land is pretty much stayed the same from a sold comparison and average sales price. What about days on the market? I get this question all the time. Oh my gosh, the craze is over. If I put my house on the market, it's not going to sell. It's going to take me months to sell it. So let's take a peek at that. In 2022, the average days on market for a single family residence was 39 days. Today it's 14. Condos and townhouses, still kind of about the same, 27 days on market in 2022, 21 in 2023. Multifamilies, looks like they're selling quite a bit faster this year. And vacant land is staying on the market way longer this year, more than double. So the senior economist at Zillow had put out some messages and some information that they were pretty convinced that if rates went over 6%, there would hardly be any new listings on the market. Well, here's what he has to say now. What we didn't expect, especially considering 7+% mortgage rates, was more new listings. We are seeing listings come on the market because people need to move. Home prices are back on the rise. Earlier this spring, there was a little dip in pricing, but that totally changed, and we are definitely back on the rise now. So if you think that you're going to all of a sudden get a great deal on properties, I don't really see that happening. I think home prices are going to continue to rise based on appreciation. What's really interesting is nationwide, we have half the inventory we normally have for sale at this time of year. So if you're a buyer out there, yes, it is what we call slim pickings. And so you need to be totally pre-approved with a lender and ready to rock and roll when a property comes on the market, because we are still in a low inventory environment. So when was it a buyer's market? Some people think that because we have a rise in interest rates, we're all of a sudden going to go back to a buyer's market. I started selling real estate in 1999 and interest rates were 9%. We were in a seller's market in 1999 nationwide. Now in 2006 to 2011, it moved more into a buyer's market. Interestingly enough, we have been in a seller's market for more than 10 years, and due to low inventory, it's going to continue being a seller's market. If we go back to my video in January of 2023, what the predictions were for mortgage interest rates definitely wasn't true. Nobody predicted they were going to go to 8%. So mortgage interest rates right now are sitting around 8%. No one predicted they'd go that high. This graph is based on third quarter of 2023. And as you can see, interest rates were hovering at about 7 to 7.25. Today, they're almost at 8%. These same people that predicted that rates would not go above 6 to 6.5 are predicting they're going to go down. Nobody has a crystal ball. I have no idea if any of this is true and whether or not it's really going to come down, but that's the prediction, is that interest rates should start softening. Now, why do sellers move? Well, sellers move because they want to be near their family. Here are the top 5 reasons why sellers sold in 2023. They wanted to move closer to friends or family. They move because they're retiring. I have several clients right now that are done with their jobs here in Alaska, and they'll be moving out next summer because they want to spend one winter in the lower 48 and then come back and finish packing up the house. And they don't necessarily want to stay here anymore during the winter. So they're going to move because they're retiring. Sometimes a neighborhood becomes less desirable because now the kids are going to a different school. Maybe my job has changed. Maybe the stores have gotten better in another part of town. So I'm going to move to be closer to where it's more convenient for me. This happens all the time. The house, you outgrow your house. All of a sudden you look around and you think, all these people that are living with us now, our house is not big enough for all these people. I see a lot of multi-generational families shopping right now. That means that families that have older relatives living at home, the parents in the middle, and the smaller children. We see a lot of that. And so, of course, multi-generational families are looking for more space, typically a place to put like a mother-in-law suite of some kind, so one of the older adults can have a wait time for the whole big family. I see a lot of that. And then always a change in family situation. No matter what's happening in the market, people get divorced, people get married, and they want to change where they live. So we do see movement no matter what's happening in the market based on interest rates or whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market. What I thought was kind of shocking is that 77% of the properties on the market right now are from empty nesters. Let that sink in for a minute. Now, if you're shopping up here in Alaska, that can be a plus or a minus because some of these properties have only been owned by one person and they haven't really been updated over the years. So they've got those beautiful avocado green cabinets or countertops and the avocado green refrigerator. Some little things have been done. Sometimes the non-sexy stuff has been done, like the roof has been replaced, the hot water heater. But our empty nesters are selling because A, they either don't want to live in that big, huge space, or they're moving closer to their friends and family. So in Alaska, there's a great loan program called the Alaska Housing Reno Loan, and it will allow you to renovate the house after you move into it. And so if you're interested in buying right now and you want to chat about that loan program and how that might work to help you buy a house, just give me a call. Now, don't expect a wave of foreclosures. I am not sure who started that conversation and why the news thought that was going to happen. There was no way that was going to happen. If we look back on the history of foreclosures, we can look that right before the pandemic, 4% of our market in the United States was made up of foreclosures. Now, what happened during the pandemic? Well, during the pandemic, there was a moratorium on foreclosures. So the properties that came on the market that were foreclosures had already been approved by the court system before the moratorium. So those properties were less than 1% and they were on the market. right now, we're sitting at 1% of the market is foreclosures and short sales. So that means that people have built equity in their property. They're not upside down, and they're not walking away from their homes and giving them back to the bank. So you're not going to see a flood of foreclosures come on the market. I do what we call broker price opinions all the time for investors all across the United States with properties here in Alaska. Pre-pandemic, in January 2020, I was getting 10 to 15 requests a week to do BPOs. Right now, I might see 3. So I am not seeing that craze or that flood of foreclosures coming on the market. If you have questions, if you've been thinking about selling or looking to buy in the Eagle River area, feel free to reach out to me. We'd love an opportunity to chat with you and talk more about your plans and get you started to moving into your next home.